Hey, what's up guys? Today I wanted to get a little bit more personal with you guys and talk about desperate situations and utilizing personal pain to drive you to whatever you're trying to achieve in life. I get a lot of comments from you guys about these kind of situations, emails where you guys share what you guys are going through or why you're trying to educate yourself, do something more in life, and that's something that can be a beautiful thing if properly utilized. You don't want to numb that pain. You definitely don't want to turn to alcohol. God forbid you do that, or start trying to just keep yourself busy. You want to utilize that pain to just drive you and propel you to the next point. I know it's difficult or harder in different countries, different parts of the world, but wherever there's opportunity, you got to use it and let that pain move you forward. So for me, probably the biggest motivating factor was the fear of not being able to provide for family and take care of family whenever they're in need, or emergencies for myself where I've just been in a financial I got to make something happen. I don't have the money and I need to do something. So anything I've ever accomplished in life, I've shared a few of those stories, whether that was the website that I built and sold or the second one. If you look at those stories, I always was able to do something with virtually nothing. There was very few resources or very little knowledge, but there was a certain drive and a certain hunger that pushed me to work through the night, to not be able to sleep, to be able to take maybe 2-3 hour naps for months at a time. And I'm not saying that's healthy or the right thing to do, but that pain of not being able to do something drove me to where I had no desire to go to parties. I had no desire to go hang out with friends. All I wanted to do was fix that pain, not numb it. I didn't want to numb it with alcohol or video games or do anything like that. All of that stuff was irrelevant to me in life. And I was able to grab that and just work like crazy, because I would be damned before I would have a situation in a family or in my family where I couldn't provide, where I couldn't do something. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be right now, but driving for that moment or striving for that moment where if something ever happens, God forbid, I can come in and financially support. And that's been that drive for me. So I don't know what it is for you guys, whether that's just a goal you're trying to accomplish for a personal pleasure, or that need for supporting family, which is probably one of the strongest ones, is what's going to drive you guys. And use it. Don't let it go to waste. Whenever you're not feeling motivation, remember that pain and let it push you. Because I personally I don't know the idea of having a lack of motivation. I grew up poor. We were from the Soviet Union. Family immigrated here from Russia, and we had virtually nothing. So I always saw kids around me with, they weren't even wealthy kids, but to us they were wealthy because we had nothing. And I always wanted more, and that always drove me. And it was very rare when I didn't have the motivation to do something or the hunger to do it. If I ever had a lack of motivation, it was for small seasons in life, and it was usually when I accomplished something big where I was able to unwind. But then something would happen, or I would remember what I was striving for, and that just propelled me to go to the next thing. It's helped me do things that I never thought were even physically possible, to work harder than ever thought a human being could, and just push for that, because that's what my family went through. That's something that's in our blood, and we were able to make something with it. One situation that I remember that really hit me deep, and depending on where you are in the world, it might be kind of funny to even think that there was so much pain involved with this, was when I was running my web development company. I had a couple employees, and I went out to lunch one time, and I had a tooth that broke. And I realized what happened, and I thought, okay, I need to fix this thing because it can get worse. And depending on how bad the situation is, the bill can be extremely large. And I remember finishing up lunch and just getting in my car. And at the time, I was supporting the company. I had no money myself. I was barely paying myself a paycheck. Even there were certain months where I gave myself nothing because I had to pay everyone else first, pay the rent, all the bills. And I remember just getting in my car, and I started driving home. I couldn't go back to work, and I just broke down. And it seems silly over something like that, but I just remember thinking, okay, this bill is going to be a couple $100s, a couple thousand, depending on how bad this actually is. And I don't have the money for this. I have nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I just felt so helpless in that moment. And I just broke down and just cried. I remember I went to my mom's house, and I just gave her a big hug and just cried on her shoulder. And again, it seems silly, it's such a dumb thing, but I remember just giving myself that moment to cry it out, and then just straighten myself up, wash my face, and just get driven by that. Just let that push me. And I just remember feeling so angry and so helpless. And every time I had one of those moments in life, I just gave myself a half a day, maybe a couple hours to feel self-pity, to feel sorry for myself. But after that, that's it. It's on forward and nothing else matters. The only thing that matters is taking care of that situation. And that was a perfect example. That was one of those cases that I'll always remember. And another one that I want to share, again, without going into too much detail, was seeing my mom cry one time when she was overworked. She had they run an adult care home. My mom takes care of older folks. They run a business that way. And my mom is in her 60s now, but at the time she was in her 50s, and she was running that business with my dad, and she was so physically beat. My mom is one of the hardest workers that I've ever seen in my entire life, and I don't remember what the situation was, but they were trying to get her out of that situation, hire employees, but financially they just had to meet certain things. Again, we had a big family, so it wasn't always easy for my dad to take care of everything. And I remember seeing my mom crying, and she was in the kitchen sitting with my dad, and they're just talking, and my mom just started breaking down. And I remember it was work related, and I think I couldn't eat for about a week after that. I remember I kind of went into this mental breakdown, seeing somebody that's done so much for me and not being able to support them, not being able to provide and do something in that situation. It killed me. And the last thing I ever wanted to do was let that situation, let that moment be in pain or in vain. Let my mom's pain just be used for nothing. And I remember just going back to my room at the time. I was still in high school, and just started writing. I had all these business plans. I couldn't do much at the time, but I just remember just thinking of anything. I had mom's retirement plan written on my notebook, and I started writing out the ideas, and I started writing out ways I can make money and help the situation. So yeah, that's all I have for this video. I just wanted to share that and to tell you guys that you got to keep pushing. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Whenever an animal is backed up into a corner, there's no telling what it can do, because it needs to survive. And we humans are like that. We're creatures like that. And when we're backed up, we can do amazing things. We need to use those moments and fight, because whatever dreams you have, they're worth it, especially if they're for family. Fight for something bigger.